Hello and welcome back. I am Madam 81 and I'm coming to you today with a story about a young man. His name was Tariq Hudson. He was a 22-year-old recent graduate. His major was engineering and he was murdered by another person. Um, he sought the protective order and he was not granted that protective order. And I'm going to read you an article about it to give you a better understanding of what had happened and what's going on. And I'm also going to show you a news clip. So the article says a district court judge is under the microscope this week after the decision to reject a peace order. More than 5,000 people have signed the petition to remove the judge who denied Tariq Hudson a protective order against his neighbor back in February. The neighbor was charged with Hudson's murder just 2 months after he was denied for the protection order. Now his friends and thousands of others want Judge Davy Patterson Russell to be removed from office. Hudson, who was age 22, requested a protective order on February the 16th, 2019. According to Hudson, the 53-year-old James Allen Verombeck made a death threat against him. Russell denied Judge Russell denied the request because Hudson could not meet the burden of proof. The Baltimore City judge is serving on a temporary basis in Anne Arundel County as she awaits a ruling for the state's Court of Appeals. A commission tasked to oversee the courts recommended a 6-month suspension, later citing her workplace conduct. It was on a temporary assignment in the Anne Arundel County that Judge Russell reviewed the petition for the peace order in February. I think if they would have given him the protective order, that the boy would still be alive, said Helen Larkins. I feel like they have failed my son. This is the mother of Tariq. She says, I feel that they have failed my son. They failed me. He had a bright and promising future, said Tanya Birch, Hudson's mother. Excuse me. Her name is Hudson. The other person, Helen Larkins, was just a bystander or witness. Hudson's mom and family are now left wondering whether the order could have saved his life. A 22-year-old, he was gunned down in the stairway of the Colonel Square Apartments in Glen Burnie at 7:10 a.m. on April 15th. After a 9-hour standoff, the police arrested Verombeck for Hudson's murder. Hudson was a recent college graduate who was with a promising career in engineering at Northrop Grumman Corporate in Annapolis. They could have saved his life had he would have been given the restraining order, and more action could have been taken that could have very well saved this young man's life. But he is gone, and somebody needs to be held accountable for this, said Dr. Joe Davis, a family friend. Okay. They requested an investigation of the history of Judge Russell. We would like to investigate to include the number of order of protections that were granted and those that were denied, and also go beyond to see if there was any discrepancies in the number of denials towards minorities compared to whites, the petition said. It also says that the court in Maryland, someone who is in a position of authority, needs to answer questions to his family, Davis added. The Commission of Judicial Disabilities, who brought those original charges against Judge Russell, has a hearing scheduled in June. The Court of Appeals will decide on her suspension by September. The Maryland Judiciary would not give WJZ a photo of Judge Davy Patterson Russell. And the article ends. My thoughts on it would be, it is a tragic story. It's not an uncommon story. It's more common than you think. A person that has a protection order, depending on which state that you live in, well, all states you have to meet the burden of proof. Some not so much burden of proof. It could be something as simple as a threat. It could be something as simple as an action taken against the person. But in other states, like in Maryland, you have to literally prove that, this person is taking, threats against you, your family, well-being, businesses, so on and so forth, whatever the case is called, whatever is in the case. So it's very tragic. I'm not sure if it would have saved the young man's life, but at least it would have been something to say, hey, clearly this man has an issue with me. He's threatened me. He makes me feel unsafe, and it would have went a long way. I don't believe that a protection order based on this man's photo would have stopped them from taking this young man to Tariq's life. So, without further ado, I am going to play you the clip, and I am also going to show you the picture of the man that took his life. So, as always, please jump in the comments, give me your thoughts and your opinions on the story. Was Judge Davy Patterson Russell, were they in the wrong? Should they have given the protective order? Should they have not? Should Tariq Hudson took in extra steps other than that? I really would like to hear your thoughts on this. Again, very tragic, and as always, please don't forget to comment, like, and subscribe. I do respond to comments. I am most grateful for anyone that has watched my videos and has left a comment. It is most appreciated. Until then, guys, here comes the clip.
A man is killed in Glen Burnie, and court documents suggest the victim feared for his safety. WJZ's live Paul Gessler reports the focus now turns to the judge in the case who turned down the victim's request for a peace order. Paul?
Well, Mary, this petition for a peace order details the threats the murder suspect in this case allegedly levied against the eventual murder victim. But the request for this order, was denied by a judge. Tariq Hudson is mourned this week by longtime friends.
Anybody would love for him to be their son. That's how special he was.
The recent North Carolina A&T graduate had just started a job here in Maryland. He was murdered Monday morning.
It looks like a war zone.
Anne Arundel County police say Hudson's downstairs neighbor killed him in the stairway of their Glen Burnie apartment building before a 10-hour standoff with officers.
It hurt me to my heart. I just could not believe it, and I still can't believe it today.
This petition for a peace order, filed just 2 months ago, lays out why Hudson was concerned for his safety. According to court documents, his neighbor, James Verombeck, threatened him as Hudson was taking out his trash, gesturing with a throat slash and saying, "You knew this day was coming." That peace order request was denied by Judge Davy Patterson Russell, citing Hudson could not meet the burden of proof.
The our officials are asleep at the wheel.
I just feel like he would just fail at that point. I do. I feel like something should have been done. I really do. And I'm just hurt that, nothing was really done.
Judge Russell, a district court judge out of Baltimore City, has been on a temporary assignment in Anne Arundel County as the appeals court decides whether she should be suspended following a complaint from the Commission on Judicial Disabilities.
I think if they would have gave them the protecting order, that boy would still be alive.
Back live now, a spokesperson for the Maryland Judiciary today says the Court of Appeals will rule on Judge Russell's suspension in that other case by September. Until then, she will remain serving in a temporary capacity in Anne Arundel County. For now, we're reporting live. Paul Gessler for WJZ.
The impact that judges can have on public safety has become a topic of debate this week. It comes after a murder in Anne Arundel County and the temporary reassignment of a city judge. Tonight, Operation Crime and Justice lead investigative reporter Drew Lapola examines who's judging the judges when it comes to their conduct in the courtroom.
While there is no indication judicial misconduct led to the murder of Tyreek Hudson, the case does shine light on how the Maryland judiciary sometimes handles judges accused of wrongdoing. In Judge Dee Patterson Russell's case, she was moved from Baltimore City to Anne Arundel County as she awaits word on a potential 6-month suspension because of her behavior on the job. It's within the pages of these court documents accusations against a Baltimore City District Court judge are laid out. A judge already facing suspension for her behavior on the job.
I don't think that judges are immune, should be immune from criticism.
Retired Circuit Court Judge Stephen Platt says when it comes to judges and their performance on the bench,
Well guaranteed that.
in the late 90s, Platt was part of a panel that studied and eventually recommended that Maryland establish a judicial performance evaluation program.
It was a successful pilot.
That pilot project never took off. Currently, 17 states, as well as the District of Columbia, actually evaluate the performance of judges. Maryland is not among them.
Judicial evaluations are working where they're working, where they're operational.
There isn't an official evaluation system. I mean, there's no question about that.
Todd Oppenheim is a public defender, but he also ran for judge unsuccessfully in Baltimore City.
If someone wants to remove a judge from the bench because of their behavior, how easy is that?
It's next to impossible, because the first thing that you have to think about is the person who's making the report has to think about their own career. So, just like I had to make a decision to run for judge against the very people that I practice in front of, you kind of take your own career in your hands.
In Maryland, it's only after a judge is being accused of wrongdoing and a complaint is filed, an investigation is launched by the Maryland Commission on Judicial Disabilities. Last year, the commission investigated 211 complaints. 7 of the 200 complaints actually led to charges. Among the judges the commission charged was Baltimore City District Court Judge Debbie Patterson Russell. The commission notes 16 different instances in which Russell is accused of judicial misconduct. Among them, not processing more than 100 search warrants in a timely manner, as well as publicly chastising a judge. In court documents Russell's attorney has filed with the commission, she denies any wrongdoing. In Platt's opinion, the Maryland judiciary needs to do more to address potential issues, and he believes judicial evaluations are the answer.
There should be a system where you can look at it and go, well, that's not a biased system, that's a fair system. I might not agree with it all the time, but it's there, and it's not by people who have their own agenda.
Judge Russell made the news this week after the arrest of a murder suspect in Anne Arundel County. James Verombeck is accused of killing his neighbor. That neighbor appeared before Judge Russell 2 months ago requesting a protective order. Russell indicated the man did not meet the burden of proof and denied the request.
Some of the accusations Judge Russell faces date back to 2013. We're told a final decision will be made by the Court of Appeals by August 31st. Again, there is no indication there was any wrongdoing on behalf of Judge Russell in the handling of the protective order she denied. When asked if relocating judges accused of misconduct was standard procedure, we were told by a spokesperson for the courts, each situation is dealt with on a case-by-case basis. Now,